Chapter 20. How do you feel? Kimmy asked. Kind of fluttery, Corky told her, swallowing hard. Kimmy took the maroon and white pom-pom from Corky's hand and helped her untangle it. You'll do fine, she said, flashing Corky an encouraging smile as she handed it back. Once the game starts, you won't even think about how nervous you are. I hope she's right, Corky thought, glancing up at the scoreboard, which was being set up for the game. The scoreboard lights were all flashing, and the clock was going haywire, the numbers running backward faster than Corky could read them. I hope the game goes that quickly, Corky thought, fiddling with the cuffs of her white sweater. She could feel her heart racing. She took a deep breath and tried to calm herself. A few early arrivals entered the gym and made their way to the bleachers. Corky watched them, then turned her eyes back to the scoreboard clock. About half an hour until game time. A hand touched her shoulder. She jumped, startled. Sorry, Miss Green said. I just wondered if you needed a pep talk. Corky grinned. Thanks, but I think we'll be okay. Nervous? The advisor asked, studying Corky's face. Corky nodded. Yeah, but I can handle it. You'll be great, Miss Green said, glancing at the gym door as more people entered. Practice has been terrific. The new pyramid routine should tear the roof off. If I don't fall on my face, Corky choked. Miss Green chuckled. You'll get your old confidence back once the game starts, you'll see. She gave Corky a thumbs up, turned, and jogged back toward Kimmy and the other cheerleaders. By now the bleachers were nearly half full. The scoreboard clock showed 15 minutes till game time. The teams were warming up on opposite ends of the floor, shooting running layups, several balls thundering off the basket and backboard at once. Showtime, Kimmy called, clapping her hands, gathering the cheerleaders together. Corky moved quickly into the circle, wiping her perspiring hands on the sides of her short skirt. Energy up, Kimmy shouted. Let's get this crowd warmed up. Let's see some spirit. The girls all cheered. Deborah gave Corky an encouraging smile and a slap on the back. Forming a line, they trotted to the bleachers and began their warm-up chant. Shady side high, shady side high. Can you dig it? Everybody's here, so everybody cheer. Then again, louder, encouraging the crowd to join in, to clap, to get loud. And again, even louder. And the crowd picked up the chant, picked up the enthusiasm, stomping and clapping until the nearly filled bleachers bounced and shook. Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y. And again. They repeated this chant until the Shadyside fans were screaming out the word. Then they ended it with synchronized backhand springs, all 6 girls performing a backward flip in unison, landing perfectly before jumping up and starting the chant again. It's going great, Corky thought with relief as the shouts and cheers echoed off the walls. I'm doing fine. I'm going to be okay. She looked down the line of girls and saw Kimmy grinning back at her. I'm going to be okay, Corky thought. The game started. The gym reverberated with the pounding and squeaking of 10 pairs of basketball shoes and the steady thud of the ball against the shiny hardwood floor. Corky knelt on the sidelines with the rest of the squad, watching the game, waiting for a break when the cheerleaders would go into action. She could feel her heart racing, but from excitement rather than nervousness. The game was going quickly, a close match in which the lead kept changing sides. Corky watched intently, and, when it came time to do a cheer, performed with her old enthusiasm and grace. Standing in front of the cheering fans, the crowd stretched up nearly to the rafters. She felt as if she were shouting away her problems, roaring back all the terrors that had plagued her. Just before halftime, she turned to see Kimmy huddled behind her. She leaned down and spoke into Corky's ear, struggling to be heard over the thunderous crowd noises. About the pyramid, Kimmy shouted. Corky cupped her ear and smiled up at her. At the end, when you're ready to dismount from the top, count to 3, okay? So I can be sure I'm in position to catch you. Okay, gotcha, Corky nodded. Have I been coming down too fast? I just want to make sure I'm in position, Kimmy said, putting a hand on her shoulder. So count to 3 and then jump and I'll be there. Thanks, Corky said, and then she added, I'm really grateful, Kimmy, for everything. Kimmy didn't hear her. She had moved on to give instructions to Ronnie and Heather. It was halftime before Corky realized it. The time did seem to be moving as fast as a scoreboard clock when it was being set before the game. The visiting cheerleading squad performed first. They had come with a 10-piece band and did a lot of rap cheers and club-type dancing. They're good, Corky heard Megan say as they waited on the sidelines. They're different, she heard Heather reply. She didn't mean it as a compliment. A few minutes later, Corky felt her excitement surge as she followed the other girls to the center of the floor to begin their performance. The opening routines went well. Then Ronnie mistimed a backflip and landed hard, but Deborah helped her up quickly and the routine continued without a pause. There were no other mishaps. We're doing okay, Corky thought happily. She suddenly wondered if her parents were somewhere up in the bleachers. They had talked about coming to the game and bringing Sean. I hope you're here, Corky thought. I hope you're seeing how great everything is going. My big comeback. And then it was time for the pyramid, the grand finale. As the girls began their shoulder mounts, the crowd hushed expectantly. Corky crossed her fingers for a brief second, took a deep breath, and began her climb. Up, up, and she was at the top, and the pyramid was formed. Perfect. And the crowd shouted its appreciation. Corky smiled and thrust out her arms. As she focused on the top of the bleachers, the gym began to spin. The entire room began to twirl, like a carnival ride out of control. She uttered a low cry. She felt her knees start to buckle. What's happening? The walls were whirling. She was inside a spinning cyclone of light and color and noise. No, please! Struggling to keep her balance, she closed her eyes. When she opened them, the gym was still whirling. Faces suddenly became clear as the bleachers spun around in front of her. She saw a red-haired boy with freckles, saw him so clearly. The room spun around again. The whirling lights grew brighter, brighter, swirls of red and yellow and white. And she saw a man with a red wool scarf tossed around his neck, sitting close to the floor, and the gym spun around again. The shouts and cries seemed to circle her, press in on her, suffocate her as the blindingly bright gym whirled faster and faster, and then stopped. And she saw Sarah Beth Plummer standing just inside the double doors. Sarah Beth Plummer? What was she doing here? I've got to get down, Corky thought, feeling cold perspiration run down her forehead, feeling her knees tremble. Got to get down. She turned her eyes to the floor, and there was Kimmy, ready for her, in position, already waiting, giving her an encouraging nod. Corky took a deep breath. Her legs felt rubbery, weak. She leaned forward, raised her knees, tucked her legs, and leapt. Kimmy's face twisted into a mask of horror. She didn't move to catch Corky, didn't raise her arms, and Corky hurtled to the floor, hitting hard with a sickening thunk. Chapter 21. Corky opened her eyes to silence. White silence. The gym had become so quiet. Faces emerged and slowly came into focus, blurred, distorted, shadowy faces. I couldn't move, she heard a shrill voice crying somewhere above her. I couldn't move. I couldn't raise my arms. It was Kimmy's voice. The shadowy faces brightened. Corky realized she was lying on her back, staring up at the gym ceiling. The pain was like a raging river, rolling over her entire body. Miss Green peered down at her, her features tight with worry. Other faces stared down. Ronnie's face was drawn and pale. She had tear stains on her freckled cheeks. Deborah stared down at Corky, her cold blue eyes wide, her lips pursed in fear. She could hear Kimmy sobbing now, loud sobs. It was so cold now, so cold and silent, and the pain was everywhere. I wanted to catch her, she heard Kimmy tell someone, her voice shrill and trembling. I tried to catch her, but something held my arms down. That's what Bobby had said, Corky thought. The faces above her slipped back into darkness. That's what happened to my sister, she realized. Something had held Bobby's arms down. Something had paralyzed Bobby, only no one would believe her. I believe you, Bobby. I believe you. Because I know what was responsible. I know what did it. It was the spirit. The evil spirit is here. It's right here. But where? It tried to kill me. It tried. And then the most horrifying thought. Maybe it did kill me. The faces darkened even more. She heard Kimmy sobbing, and then the darkness swallowed her. When Corky opened her eyes, a different face stared down at her. Mom! Her voice came out choked and dry. Mrs. Kokorin, her eyes watery, smiled down at Corky. You're going to be okay, she said, putting a cool hand on her forehead. Corky tried to sit up, but pain forced her back onto the pillow. Where am I? You're in the hospital, her mother said. Her smile appeared frozen in place. It didn't fade, even when she talked. The emergency room. She dabbed at the corner of one eye with a wadded-up tissue. The room came into focus. Actually, Corky saw, it wasn't a room. Just a small rectangular cubicle with gray curtains for walls. You're going to be okay, Mrs. Cocord repeated, still offering Corky that forced smile. No, I'm not, Corky thought glumly. You bruised a rib, and you broke your arm. That's all, her mother informed her. So the spirit didn't kill me, Corky thought, turning to stare at the gray curtains. It didn't kill me this time. It didn't kill me this time. But next time. Your father is filling out some forms, Mrs. Kokorin said. When he's finished, we can go home. Isn't that great? You're going to be okay. Corky forced a smile back at her mother. I'm not going to be okay, she thought. I'm never going to be okay. The evil spirit had killed Bobby, and tonight it was in the gym. Tonight it tried to kill me. I'm not okay. Not okay. Not okay. A dark-haired young intern in a white coat appeared suddenly above her. Can you sit up? He asked, smiling. I'd like to check the cast one more time. Holding her by the shoulder, he helped Corky to a sitting position. To her surprise, she saw a large white cast encasing her right arm. I wouldn't try to do any backflips for a while, the doctor joked. Sean, what are you doing up this late? Mrs. Kokorin scolded. Corky's brother, who had greeted them eagerly at the front door in his pajamas, shrugged his slender shoulders. He refused to go to bed, explained Mrs. Barnaby, the neighbor who had been babysitting. He said he had to see his sister's cast. Well, back away from the door so your poor sister can get inside, Mr. Kokorin explained. Sean's eyes grew wide with excitement when he saw Corky's cast. Wow, can I touch it? Corky extended it to him. Go ahead, if that's a thrill for you. No, wait, Sean said excitedly. I want to sign my name on it. You're supposed to sign casts, right? Not tonight, please, their mother begged. Corky's had a rough night, Mr. Kokorin told Sean. Give her some space. Can I write a message on it? Sean asked, ignoring his parents as usual. You know, something funny? Tomorrow, Corky said shakily. I'm really feeling kind of weird right now. Sean made his pouty face, but backed off. You got 2 calls, Mrs. Barnaby told Corky, pulling her wool coat over her shoulders, adjusting her scarf. I wrote them down. One from a Deborah, one from a Ronnie someone. I told them you were still at the hospital. Thanks, Corky said wearily. I'll call them tomorrow. Mrs. Barnaby said good night and headed for home. Sean argued for a short while. Then he agreed to let Mr. Kokorin tuck him into bed. Tomorrow, I'm going to write something really stupid on your cast, he warned Corky. Thanks, can't wait, his sister replied dryly. I'm going to run you a hot bath, Mrs. Kokorin told Corky. The doctor said it will be good for your sore muscles. Corky shrugged. Okay, I guess. I've been attacked by an ancient evil force, she thought scornfully, and Mom thinks a bath will help. You just have to be careful not to get the cast wet, her mother warned. I'll try, Corky muttered. She followed her mother up the stairs. After entering her room, she lowered herself carefully into a sitting position on the edge of the bed. Her ribs ached. Her arms throbbed under the cast. I can't do anything, she thought, uttering an exasperated cry. I can't even undress myself. She heard the rush of water in the bathtub across the hall. A few seconds later, her mother appeared in the doorway, shaking water off her hand. Let me help you change. Corky felt embarrassed to be undressed by her mother, but she was too weary to protest. Her mother slipped a cotton robe around Corky, then helped her tie the belt. This isn't going to be easy, she told her daughter, but we'll manage. Corky sighed in response and started toward the bathroom. Do you want me to help you get in the tub? Mrs. Kokorin called after her. You've got to be very careful. No thanks. I'll manage, Corky said. She stepped into the bathroom and closed the door behind her. The room was steamy and warm. The steam felt good against her cheeks. She bent and turned off the water with her left hand. Just call me Lefty, she said aloud. She stared down into the deep aqua tub. The bath looked inviting. Every muscle in her body ached. This is going to feel good, she thought. She had started to pull off the rope when she realized that someone was standing behind her. She turned quickly. First, she saw the maroon and white cheerleader outfit. Then she saw the girl's face. Kimmy, Corky cried in surprise. What are you doing here? Chapter 22. The white steam rose up around Kimmy. Her dark eyes glowed in the misty light. I wanted to get rid of you forever, she said coldly, speaking in a low, husky voice. Corky backed up against the closed bathroom door. Kimmy, what? What are you saying? You're frightening me. Kimmy's normally pink cheeks flushed scarlet. I'm not Kimmy, she announced in a strange, husky voice. Kimmy, listen, Corky started. Her ribs ached. Pain throbbed down her arm. I'm so tired. You didn't cooperate, Kimmy said, taking a step toward Corky. You were supposed to die, like your sister. Now wait, Corky cried. Kimmy? I'm not Kimmy, she snarled, then let out a roar that blew away all the steam. I am what you fear most. No, Corky tried to shriek, raising her good hand to fend off the menacing figure before her. The puzzle is solved, she realized, feeling paralyzed by dread, unable to move, to call for help, to take her eyes off the advancing girl. The puzzle is solved. The evil spirit is revealed. It's been inside Kimmy. Where is Kimmy? Corky demanded, finding her voice. What have you done with Kimmy? Did you kill her? At first the creature didn't respond. Her dark eyes reddened, then glowed like fire. Her hair, Kimmy's black hair, rose up around her head, flew up like dark flames. The low, raspy voice declared, I have been in Kimmy ever since that night in the cemetery, the night you thought you sent me back to my grave. Corky stared in silent horror into the creature's eyes, glowing like coals on a fire, at the dark hair flying wildly around its face. You thought you were defeating me, the evil spirit continued. You should have known better. Ronnie was there too, and Deborah was there, and Kimmy. Lucky Kimmy. You moved from Jennifer's body to Kimmy's? Corky whispered, slumping weakly back against the door. Kimmy's eyes grew even brighter, so bright Corky had to look away. Why? Corky asked. Why are you doing this? Why did you kill Chip and John? Why are you trying to kill me? Kimmy's enemies became my enemies, the voice rasped. I paid Chip back for dumping Kimmy and for liking you. John was following me everywhere. He was coming too close to the truth. I knew that when I saw him with Sarah Beth. She paused. Her dark eyes narrowed icily. He's gone now. But why kill me? Corky cried in a shrill, frightened voice she didn't recognize. I have to pay you back for that night in the cemetery. You tried to destroy me. Now you must be destroyed. No, Corky cried. She reached for the doorknob, but the door wouldn't budge. Time for your bath, the husky voice said. So nice of you to draw a hot, steamy bath. Now, Corky dear, you can die like your sister. With startling strength, Kimmy grabbed Corky by the hair, jerked her toward the tub, and started to force her head down into the hot water. Chapter 23. Oh! Corky tried to pull back as Kimmy pushed her head down toward the steaming tub, but Kimmy was too powerful. The steaming water seemed to rise up to meet Corky. I'm going to drown, she thought. I'm going to die now. She closed her eyes as her face met the water. So hot, so burning hot. She held her breath, twisted her body, tried to force her head up. Kimmy pushed with inhuman strength. Deeper. Corky felt the water fill her ears, rise up over her head. I'm drowning now. I'm dead. Pictures whirred wildly through her mind. Faces, all of her friends, people she didn't recognize. Her chest ached. I can't hold my breath much longer. My lungs are going to explode. More pictures raced through her mind, a jumble of faces. She saw her family. She saw Sean. Sad-faced Sean. Now he won't get to sign my cast, she thought. He'll wake up and I'll be dead. Dead, dead, dead. And Sean will be alone. No, a voice screamed in her head. No, I can't let this happen. I can't let the evil win again. As her fear turns to anger and her anger flames to desperate rage, Corky reared up against the powerful force with all her strength and swung the heavy cast. Oh! Kimmy groaned as the elbow of the cast clubbed the back of her head. Momentarily stunned, her fiery eyes faded to black. She stumbled forward. And as she stumbled, Corky stood up, water pouring off her head. She grabbed Kimmy's wildly flying black hair with her left hand, jerked the head downward with all her might, and pushed Kimmy's face into the steaming hot water. Corky turned and, still grasping Kimmy's hair with her good hand, leaned the cast on Kimmy's head, and pushed. Down, down. Kimmy's head was entirely submerged. She struggled to get up. Her arms flailed frantically. She kicked with her legs. She strained to raise her head. Her chest heaving, the pain shooting through her body. Corky leaned, all of her weight against Kimmy's head, pushing it down, bearing down with the heavy cast. Kimmy thrashed and fought. She pushed up with inhuman strength, pushed up, strained against Corky's cast, struggling to remove her head from the water. Drown! Drown! Corky said without even realizing it. Drown! Drown! And then Kimmy's mouth opened wide. A raging wind poured from her mouth, into the water. A wind so hot, so fierce, the water instantly began to boil and bubble. And still Corky pressed down. Battling the force, she pushed Kimmy's head back down, submerging it so the raging wind made boiling tidal waves roll across the tub. The tiny room filled with steam. Thick, white clouds of it rose up from the tub, scalding hot. Corky began to choke on it. I can't see, she realized. It's thicker than any fog. She couldn't see her own arm, couldn't see the cast, could no longer see the head she was holding under the water. The white steam grew even thicker. Corky blindly choked, gasping for air, and hung on. Hung on to the struggling head as the wind raged and the bathwater tossed and churned. Hung on blindly. I'm suffocating, she thought. I can't breathe. I'm drowning in a cloud. Drowning in a thick, scalding cloud. Suffocating. like Bobby. But she held on, and pushed with her remaining strength, pushed in spite of her pain, pressed a head under the rolling hot water. The steam cleared. Corky could see again. Under the water, Kimmy uttered a loud groan. A disgusting green liquid poured from her mouth. The stench of it rose up from the tossing water. Corky gagged, struggled to hold her breath, trying not to breathe. The thick green liquid oozed out of Kimmy's mouth, took shape, formed a long snake-like figure, longer, longer. It coiled around the bottom of the tub. More rolled out of Kimmy's open mouth. Drown, 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 please, drown, Corky screamed. Leaning on Kimmy's head with the cast, she reached down and pulled open the drain. She heard a gurgling sound, and stared in disbelief as the foul-smelling, green liquid snake was sucked down the drain. Chapter 24. As it oozed down the drain, the thick green liquid made a disgusting sucking sound that grew louder and louder, echoing in Corky's head, vibrating until the walls appeared to shake. Still holding Kimmy's head down even though the water had been drained, Corky held her breath, trying to avoid the putrid odor that invaded her nostrils. The white steam, rising from the tub, rolled over her, wrapped her up like a hot, wet blanket. The last of the undulating green gunk gurgled into the drain. Corky shut her eyes. When she opened them, the steam had vanished. The room was clear. Silence. She stared down into the tub. The green ooze was gone. The water had drained out too. Kimmy uttered a low cry. With a sob of relief, Corky loosened her grip on Kimmy's head. "Hey!" Kimmy cried, in her old voice, not the frightening, raspy voice of the evil spirit. "Hey!" Bent over the tub, Kimmy shook her head, beads of water rolling off her black curls. Reluctantly, Corky let go of Kimmy's head and backed away from the tub, her arms throbbing under the heavy cast, her entire body aching. Kimmy turned around slowly, her dark eyes wide with confusion. She pushed herself up from the tub and stood breathing hard, her chest heaving. She stared at Corky as if she didn't recognize her. "Corky?" she cried uncertainly, squinting, her mouth dropping open. Her eyes darted around the small room. "Where am I? What am I doing here?" Despite her weariness, Corky let out a whoop of joy. "Kimmy, is it you?" The question seemed to confuse Kimmy even more. Corky offered her a hand. "Kimmy, I don't believe it." She helped pull Kimmy to her feet. Kimmy gripped the sink to steady herself. "But how? I mean, I don't understand." She suddenly reached up and grabbed her hair with both hands. I'm wet? I don't—" "Take it easy," Corky said softly. "Let's get out of here. Let's go downstairs and—" "But how did I get here?" Kimmy demanded. "I was in the Fear Street Cemetery. You were struggling, wrestling with Jennifer over that open grave." "That's the last thing you remember?" Corky exclaimed. "Kimmy, that was months ago." "Huh?" Still gripping her hair tightly in both hands, Kimmy gaped at Corky. "Months? What do you mean?" Corky started to reply, but a loud pounding on the bathroom door made her stop. "Corky, are you okay?" her mother called in. "What's going on in there?" Corky pulled open the door. "Mom, it's okay." Mrs. Kokorin gasped in shock. "Kimmy, what are you doing here?" I don't know," Kimmy told her, still dazed. "Kimmy's okay," Corky told her mom. "She's okay. Let's get her downstairs." "But she's all wet," Mrs. Kokorin cried in confusion. "And so are you." Corky managed to calm her mother. They helped Kimmy down the stairs and onto the living room couch. Mrs. Kokorin went into the kitchen to call Kimmy's parents to come and get her. When her mother was out of the room, Corky moved next to Kimmy on the couch and whispered to her, "The evil, it's gone." Kimmy started to say something, but Corky put a hand on her arm to silence her. "Just listen to me. The evil is gone. I drowned it. Really, I drowned it. I saw it disappear this time. Maybe now the nightmare is over. Maybe it really is gone for good." A few hours later, Corky lay awake in bed, watching the shadows play across her ceiling. Her ribs ached. Her arm throbbed and itched under the cast. She shifted her weight uncomfortably. Poor Kimmy, she thought. She was so dazed, so confused. I don't think she'll ever believe the truth. Corky tried to turn onto her side, but a stab of pain shot across her chest. She rolled onto her back again, tugging the covers with her good hand. Is the evil spirit really gone forever? She wondered, closing her eyes. Will my life finally return to normal? Yes. She answered her own question. Yes, yes, yes. Happily repeating the word over and over, she fell into a fitful sleep. The next morning she slept late. The clock radio on her night table said 11:55 when she pulled herself out of bed, yawned, and stretched her one good hand. She stood up, feeling stronger, a little unsteady, but definitely stronger. She looked out the window, bright blue skies. A sunny day, she thought, smiling. At last, a sunny day. The days will all be sunny from now on, she thought cheerfully. She smiled at herself in her dresser mirror. I'm starving, she realized, pushing her hair back from her face before rubbing the sleep from her eyes. Still in her long cotton nightshirt, she padded down to the kitchen, humming to herself. Hey, anybody home? No reply. She started to open the refrigerator, but stopped when she saw the morning mail on the kitchen counter. Shuffling through the stack of bills and mail order catalogs, she pulled out an envelope addressed to her. It was hand-printed in light blue ink. There was no return address. Curious, Corky struggled to tear open the envelope with her good hand. She pulled out a folded sheet of paper. It appeared to be a note. Who is it from? She wondered aloud. And then she gasped in horror as she unfolded it and read the brief message. It can't be drowned. This has been a Nightfall Audiobooks production of the Cheerleaders series, Book 2, The Second Evil by R.L. Stine. Hi, this is Chris, and thank you very much for joining me for my production of the Cheerleaders series, Book 2, The Second Evil by R.L. Stine. This was a fun read. This was a lot of fun. It gave you a lot of background on Sarah Fear. It gave you a reason why Bobby died in the first book with the boiling water, because the boiling water is what killed Sarah and her 4 companions on Fear Lake in 1899. And an interesting thing that I wanted to mention, there were some really powerful scenes in this book. One of them is where Corky is being attacked by all the creatures in the science lab. That was fantastic. The flies coming at her, the cow eye plopping after her on the table, the skeleton's hand detaching and flying at her and trying to choke her and stuff. That was wonderful. That was really, really well done. Very, very creepy scene. And then it was followed up with Corky finding Chip in the wood shop with his hand sliced off. That's amazing. Sarah Beth Plummer mentioned that Sarah Fear died when she was 21 in 1899, so she was born in 1878. What's very important here is Sarah Beth says, remember, Simon Fear was still around back then. So Simon Fear was born in 1825. He must have been 74 in 1899. So this matches up with Fear Street Saga's trilogy, Book 3, The Burning, because that's when Daniel Fear runs into Nora Good and they get married, because Daniel is in Shadyside for Simon's 75th birthday party, and that must have been 1900, right at the turn of the century, and that's when everybody perished there. That's when the mansion caught fire and burned down and stuff. But what's really interesting is that Sarah Fear is not a real Fear. She's married in. Simon and Angelica had 4 kids, Julia, Hannah, Robert, and Brandon. Of those 2, Robert and Brandon got away and had other kids. So Robert married Rose, and they had Thomas, and then Thomas married Sarah. So Sarah is a married-in Fear. She's not a true Fear. That's very interesting. And it's really interesting that, I guess she must have loved the family, because according to Sarah Beth Plummer, she was constantly entertaining people on her house out on Fear Lake. Her husband Thomas must have died very, very young in their relationship. As powerful as a character as Sarah is in the Fear Street history and the lore, I thought she was a, quote, true Fear and not a married-in Fear. That's really cool. I have the Fear family tree in front of me because I own the hard copies of the Fear Street Saga's trilogy, so it was fun to reference this and just go, okay, where does Sarah fall in this whole thing? And what's very strange too is I have a very hard time finding this kind of thing out online. There's no Wikipedia article for Fear Street. I find a lot of material revolving around the new trilogy that came out that Netflix did, but I don't have a whole lot of stuff regarding the actual lore of Shadyside. And that's very strange. For something that was as popular as this, that was around right as the internet was starting and things, you would think that this would have more of a following, and it kind of doesn't. It's sort of been forgotten. So far, both Cheerleader novels have been fantastic, and I feel that if you are a true Fear Street fan, you should have these on your shelf. I don't know why I skipped them when I was a kid. I really, really hope that Book 3, 4, and 5 hold up as well as Book 1 and 2 did, and I have read the 99 Fear Street series, the Cataluna Chronicles, and the Fear Street Sagas series, and the Fear Street Sagas trilogy, and Book 2 is always kind of the weakest, but not for the cheerleader stuff. Book 2 is just as strong, if not stronger, than Book 1. It's really, really weird. I'm not used to this. What should I read next? I don't know. Please give me a suggestion. Drop me an email, nightfallaudiobooks@gmail.com. I am also on YouTube at Nightfall Audiobooks. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And I have a Patreon page, patreon.com/nightfallaudiobooks. Any help would be greatly appreciated. It'll help me flesh out the rest of my library and finish recording this entire series. So tell your friends, tell your mom, tell whoever it is that you think would like to listen to me tell them tales from R.L. Stine. So thank you very much for listening, and I will see you next time.